So the 2022 NFL season is over, and now that we're in the off season, I wanted to go ahead and come out with my first ever 2023 NFL mock draft of the off season. So before we do get started, I do want to say, of course, hit that like button if you guys end up enjoying this video, since it really does help out this video and channel do well. And then second off, of course, subscribe if you guys are new and you guys enjoy this type of content, so you don't miss out on any new videos like this. And I do want to come out with I do want to say a few things before we do get into the mock draft. One, there are going to be no trades in this mock. There's going to be trades in later mocks, but not this one. Second off, I'm going to be making these picks based on what I would do if I was that team. And then lastly, I have not done, I've not finished my scouting and research on all these prospects, so I do want to let you guys know that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get this video started. So with the first overall pick, the Chicago Bears select Will Anderson, an edge rusher from Alabama. The Bears' defense and their pass rush especially was just flat out pitiful. I mean, Jaquan Brisker, a safety out of all people, led the team in sacks with, guess how much? 4 of them. 4. That is hilariously awful, and the Bears need to address that pass rush. I could see a case for Jalen Carter, but Will Anderson, I mean, he does play a more valuable position in edge rusher to me. And along with that, Will Anderson Jr., you could argue, is the best non-quarterback in this class, and he is definitely one of the best edge rusher prospects we have ever seen, in the past 5 to 10 years. So, yeah, I got the Bears taking Will Anderson. Now with the second overall pick, the Houston Texans select Bryce Young, Will Anderson's teammate, a quarterback out of Alabama. So Davis Mills, as we all know, had an absolutely awful 2022 year, and I think the Texans are looking to get their next franchise quarterback in this upcoming draft. And Bryce Young, he's the best quarterback in this class in my opinion, so not much I really gotta say. With the third overall pick, the Arizona Cardinals select Jalen Carter, a defensive tackle out of Georgia. Jalen Carter is definitely, maybe the best defensive tackle prospect we have ever seen. Definitely the best in the past 5 to 10 years. The Arizona Cardinals, they also need help defensively, especially up front. That pass rush in front seven, it is just not very good. And Jalen Carter, he would give them an instant boost for sure. Now with the fourth overall pick, the Indianapolis Colts select CJ Stroud, a quarterback out of Ohio State. Look, the Colts, they need to stop settling for these mediocre veteran quarterbacks, and they just gotta grab a guy in the draft. CJ Stroud, although I think he is the second best quarterback in this class, and if he was at the fourth overall pick and Bryce Young is gone, it's a no-brainer for the Colts. They gotta take him. So yeah, that's really all I gotta say for Indianapolis. Now with the fifth overall pick via the Denver Broncos, the Seattle Seahawks select Tyree Wilson, an edge rusher out of Texas Tech. Now the Seattle Seahawks, they really got to improve that defense if they want to take that next step as a squad. Tyree Wilson, although he does have to refine his technique a little bit, his athleticism is amazing, and because of that, he should be able to offer some versatility. And Tyree Wilson is one of the best defensive players, and not even just defensive players, but best players in this draft. So I got the Seahawks taking him for that reason. Now with the sixth overall pick, the Detroit Lions via the Los Angeles Rams, they select Christian Gonzalez, a cornerback out of Oregon. To me, Christian Gonzalez is the best cornerback in this draft. Now, I know I'm an Oregon Ducks fan for college football, so I probably am a little bit biased when I say that, but at the same time, I think there is a legit case. But yeah, the Detroit Lions really need help in the secondary, and Christian Gonzalez, again, because he is the best cornerback in my opinion in this draft, I think he could really give that team a boost in the secondary and really help them make it to the playoffs. With the seventh overall pick, The Las Vegas Raiders select Paris Johnson, a tackle out of Ohio State. The Las Vegas Raiders, they could go with a lot of positions here, truthfully, but I got them addressing the offensive line. Paris Johnson, to me, he is the best tackle in this draft, and they really need to fortify that offensive line if they want a franchise quarterback to succeed. Now, with the 8th overall pick, the Atlanta Falcons select Myles Murphy, an edge rusher from Clemson. Myles Murphy, he is definitely one of the best edge rushers and defensive players in this draft, and the Falcons' pass rush is still extremely bad. And Myles Murphy, while he is a little bit raw as a player, he's still really good. I think he could provide a boost to this pass rush, and along with that, he is pretty good at stopping the run. Now, with the 9th overall pick, the Carolina Panthers select Will Levis, a quarterback from Kentucky. Now, a lot of people, Will Levis, a lot of people don't like him, and a lot of people also really love him. Now, Will Levis, to me, there are a lot of things to like about him, like his arm strength, his size, his mobility, and he also did play in a very pro-like system at UK. But at the same time, Will Levis is very raw and struggles with a lot of fundamental aspects, so he'll have to sit for a year. But hey, if Will Levis can work on those things and perfect them, then I think he has the potential to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league and finally give the Panthers a franchise QB. Now, with the 10th overall pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Keeley Ringo, a cornerback from Georgia, and yeah, they got this pick via the Saints. Now, the Eagles are going to have a lot of key free agents on the defensive side of the ball, and they probably will not be able to keep James Bradberry. Keeley Ringo, again, opinions vary on him. I mean, he definitely had he was definitely a little bit streaky this year, and while he is somewhat raw as a player, I do think Keeley Ringo has all of the athletic tools to be one of the best cornerbacks in the league, and while it may take a year, I think the risk might be worth it, and Keeley Ringo is still arguably the best cornerback in this draft class. Now, with the 11th overall pick, the Tennessee Titans select Jordan Addison, a wide receiver from USC. The Titans could go with a lot of positions here, truthfully, but they really do need a wide receiver besides Treylon Burks. And Jordan Addison, in my opinion, I think he is the best receiver in this draft. Although he is definitely undersized for the NFL, he really makes up for it in his other aspects. I'll admit, hands could also use some work, but besides those two issues, Jordan Addison is extremely good, and he could give the Titans a legit wide receiver one, and he could form a really good duo with Treylon Burks. Now, with the 12th overall pick, the Houston Texans select, via the Browns, they select Quentin Johnston, a receiver from TCU. Now, I gotta say, I think Quentin Johnston is a little overrated by some people, but that being said, he's still one of the best wide receivers we have in this class. I think his technique really needs a lot of work. He definitely does not separate that well, in my opinion, and I think he plays a bit too upright, but Quentin Johnston is a superb athlete, and with Brandon Cooks on his way out, the Texans could really use a new wide receiver one. And Quentin Johnston, if he can fix those issues with his technique, then he is going to be a problem in the NFL, and he should be a really fun, nice target for whoever the Texans franchise quarterback is. With the 13th overall pick, the New York Jets select Peter Karonsky, a tackle from Northwestern. The Jets are honestly a pretty complete team, but I do think they could use help at tackle, especially when you consider Mekhi Becton's injury history. And Peter Karonsky, I'll admit, he does have, kind of shorter arms than you would like. But that being said, it's hard to find a lot of flaws in his game besides his arm length. And he's no doubt one of the best tackles in the league. And he should be provide really good pass protection and just overall blocking for that Jets offense. Now, with the 14th overall pick, the New England Patriots, my favorite team, they select Jackson Smith-Njigba, a wide receiver from Ohio State. We got a real offensive coordinator in Bill O'Brien, which is great, but we need to find Mac Jones, a true number one wide receiver. Even though JSN had a pretty underwhelming 2022 campaign that was really affected by injuries, and I'll admit, his long speed is a little bit of a concern. JSN, he was phenomenal at Ohio State overall, and he makes up for it with this route running, his yak ability, and ability to separate. I really do like JSN as a prospect, and I'd love him on my Patriots, so yeah, I got my Pats taking him. I will also add that we could take a tackle here, but I wanted to take a wide receiver for this mock draft. With the 15th overall pick, the Green Bay Packers select Michael Mayer, a tight end from Notre Dame. The Packers really need to give Aaron Rodgers another consistent receiving option besides Christian Watson. They also really need a tight end, and Michael Mayer is definitely one of the best tight end prospects we've seen in the last few years, and I mean, he's overall just a really good tight end, not the most athletic guy, but just a great tight end, and I think the Packers would be a really good landing spot for him. With the 16th overall pick, the Washington Commanders select Joey Porter Jr., a cornerback from Penn State. The Commanders, they were not that far off from making the playoffs, and although they have a pretty solid defense, their cornerbacks are not very good. Joey Porter, although he is a little bit grabby, he's no doubt one of the best cornerbacks in this draft, and Joey Porter could really help out that Washington secondary. With the 17th overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Anton Harrison, a tackle from Oklahoma. Anton Harrison is probably my favorite tackle in the class, even though he's not, I don't think he's the best tackle, but Anton Harrison, he is an extremely good pass protector and a pretty decent athlete. And hey, if the Pittsburgh Steelers want to improve, if they want Kenny Pickett to develop into a franchise quarterback, and if they want Najee Harris to bounce back after a very rough 2022 campaign, they need to improve that offensive line. And Anton Harrison, he could really help out. With the 18th overall pick, the Detroit Lions select Brian Breezy, a defensive tackle from Clemson. I'll admit, I gotta do a little bit more research into Brian Breezy, but from what I do know, he is a pretty raw player. Like, he definitely has the athletic tools and talent to be a great player. It's just, availability was a big issue. And hey, even though it might take some time for him to get acclimated to the NFL, I do think Brian Breezy could really help out that Lions defense. And again, if they can just get that defense to being average, then they should be able to make the playoffs. With the 19th overall pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Anthony Richardson, a quarterback from Florida. Now, the Buccaneers need to find a new franchise quarterback now that Tom Brady is retired. Although Anthony Richardson is hella raw and he could be like a McDonald's worker or he could be the best quarterback in the NFL, Anthony Richardson has elite physical tools. And hey, if he can perfect, the fundamental aspects of his game and sit for a year, then I do believe that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers might find themselves one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in Anthony Richardson. Well, if he develops into that. You guys know what I'm trying to say. With the 20th overall pick, the Seattle Seahawks, they select Devon Witherspoon from Illinois, a cornerback. The Seahawks, we're improving that defense even more. They do, now that we've addressed that front seven, they need another cornerback opposite of Tariq Woolen. And Devon Witherspoon's one of the best corners we have in this draft. He's really versatile, and I think he would form a great tandem with, Tariq Woolen. Now with the 22nd overall pick, because, we are skipping over the Dolphins pick, the Los Angeles Chargers, they select Zay Flowers, a wide receiver from Boston College. The Chargers, they really need some speed in that wide receiving core, and Keenan Allen might be a cap casualty and could be released in the offseason. Zay Flowers, he is one of my favorite receivers in this draft. He is not the biggest guy, but he is fast, he's quick, he's a good route runner. He's really good after the catch. Besides size, Zay Flowers, I mean, there's not a lot of flaws, to his game, and he would be an extremely good fit with Los Angeles. Now, with the 23rd overall pick, the Baltimore Ravens select Rasheed Rice, a wide receiver from SMU. Now, there are, like some, a lot of players in this draft, there are some people who really love Rasheed Rice, and then there's guys who really don't like him that much. Now, I think Rasheed Rice is decent, and some people might view this as a little bit of a reach, but Rasheed Rice, he does need to clean up his drops. And I'll admit, separation, he could use some work on that, and I do agree that his route tree, it was limited in college, but at the same time, his actual route running is not horrible, and he is a pretty solid athlete. So if he can work on the hands and also just separating from corners, then Rasheed Rice could be that wide receiver one that the Ravens have been looking for forever. With the 24th overall pick, the Minnesota Vikings, they select Cam Smith, a cornerback out of South Carolina. The Vikings need a cornerback every single year, and Cam Smith is the best cornerback at this spot. And the Vikings, hey, if that defense, if they can just be like decent, like top 10 to 12 or 15, then I think the Vikings should be able to become a title contender. And yeah, I do like Cam Smith a lot as a player. With the 25th overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Brian Branch, a safety out of Alabama. Now, I need to do a little bit more research when it comes to the safeties of this draft, but Brian Branch, from what I do know, he is probably the best safety we have in this class. He's a very versatile player, and he's a really good defensive chess piece that can play all over the field, and he could play slot corner, and the Jaguars could really use a slot corner, and they are a very complete roster, but Brian Branch could really help complete it, or complete it even more, I guess. With the 26th overall pick, the New York Giants select Trenton Simpson, a linebacker from Clemson. The Giants linebackers are some of the worst in the NFL, and I could see them taking a wide receiver here, or a cornerback, or maybe, probably not an interior O-lineman, but the linebackers are one of their biggest needs. And Trenton Simpson, he is a really versatile player. In my opinion, he is far and away the best linebacker in this class, and he would go a long way in helping this Giants defense, which, wasn't horrible to begin with, but he can make it even better. With the 27th overall pick, the Dallas Cowboys select Josh Downs, a wide receiver from North Carolina. The Cowboys they kind of need a wide receiver too, because Michael Gallup did not look like himself last year, and who knows if he does return to his old self after that ACL tear. And if they do choose to move off of him, they'll need someone to replace him. But yeah, Josh Downs, while he is undersized for the NFL, he does make up for it with his speed and his route running, and he would add some nice explosiveness and a good wide receiver too, opposite of CeeDee Lamb, to this Dallas Cowboys team. Now, with the 28th overall pick, the Buffalo Bills select Osiris Torrance, an interior O lineman from Florida. Now, when I said the Giants shouldn't take an IOL at their spot, I forgot about Osiris Torrance for a second, and yeah, I mean, the Giants definitely should consider taking Osiris Torrance, but yeah, Osiris Torrance, in my opinion, he is the best interior O lineman in this draft. Now, I'll admit, I gotta do a little bit more research when it comes to the interior O lineman of this class, but Osiris Torrance, again, one of the best O linemen in this class. And the Bills, if there's one thing that horrible end to the season taught them, they must improve that offensive line if they finally want to win a damn Super Bowl. With the 29th overall pick, the Cincinnati Bengals select Broderick Jones, a tackle from Georgia. Now, the Bengals, they really need to protect Joe Burrow if they finally want to win a Super Bowl. I mean, that offense is lethal besides their offensive line. La'el Collins and Jonah Williams did not perform well in 2022, and if they do choose to move off of them, they'll need to replace them. And Broderick Jones, while he is raw as a player, he no doubt has the athletic tools to be a very good tackle in the league. And with the 30th overall pick via the Broncos, via the Dolphins, via the 49ers, yeah, lots of vias, the New Orleans Saints select BJ Ojulari, an edge rusher from LSU. The Saints, they got to address that defensive line with Cam Jordan getting up there in age. Marcus Davenport's going to be a free agent, and they have some defensive tackles, I believe, who will be free agents, like, I think, David Onyemata. But yeah, BJ Ojulari, I really like him as a player. I think while I do think he is slightly undersized, for the NFL, and his run defense is not exactly the best, I love his pass rushing ability, and he could be an extremely good pass rusher for that New Orleans squad. With the 31st overall pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Bichon Robinson, a running back from Texas. Miles Sanders is going to be a free agent this year, and I know a lot of people have gripes about running backs being taken in the first round, but Bichon Robinson's the best running back prospect we have ever seen since Saquon Barkley. And I mean, taking him at the 31st overall pick is really not that bad, especially when you consider how complete of a team Philadelphia is. But yeah, considering the fact that they might lose, that they'll probably lose Miles Sanders, Bichon Robinson I think could be a great replacement. He's got a good blend of power and speed and had great production, and again, he's an elite running back prospect. And with the 32nd and final pick of my first mock draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Nolan Smith, an edge rusher from Georgia. Although the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, I do think they could provide Chris Jones with some more help on that defensive line. Nolan Smith, although he, definitely has his concerns. I mean, he is a raw player, and I do think he was pretty injury prone at Georgia. He has the athletic tools to be a great player in the NFL. And not to mention, he is a good run stopper, and at the bare minimum, yeah, he should be like a good run stopping edge, and if they can develop him properly, he can be an extremely good sidekick to Chris Jones. But yeah, without further ado, that is going to be it for this mock draft. Thank you guys so much for watching. It really means a lot to me. Again, like, subscribe, do all of that stuff, and yeah, check me out on social media. Links to my Twitter and Instagram, they're in the description below. But without further ado, I'm out, you guys.